Hey guys, it's Robert. First of all, it's been a week since I set up the fundraising campaign. I've raised about $100 so far. Anyone else, that would have been a bust, but for me, that is pretty rad. Thank you so much for everyone who's donated. It should still be going on for at least another 5 weeks. Again, just share it with your friends, share it with your family, everyone possible. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's donated. And second of all, I just wanted to start a little video series, or every week, or I'll try every week, to just suggest music. Let's just get started here. First up is Bad Religion's How Could Hell Be Any Worse from 1981. While a lot of people would recommend you listen to Bad Religion's Suffer from, I think, 88, I want to say, late 80s. Pretty sure it's 88. How Could Hell Be Any Worse is a good capsule of what they used to sound like, and then once you get into Suffer, that's what they'll eventually sound like. Bad Religion was very much a big part of the early West Coast hardcore scene, and this album very much just exemplifies that. And then from there, just explore everything else that they've put out. Suffer and The Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, Empire Strikes Again is fantastic to get into. Their whole discography really is really good, but those two albums in particular, people seem to like the most. Then we get into the Dead Kennedys' Dead Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. Again, another seminal piece of just early hardcore. The Dead Kennedys, this is kind of their in-between album. This is their debut. They put out a couple EPs and singles beforehand. This is right before Frankenchrist. When they would go really, really hardcore, just super fast, minute-long songs, 50 seconds long songs. Fresh Fruit is very much a punk album. Jello Biafra is probably one of the greatest punk vocalists ever. Not just that he's just iconic, is that he could actually sing, even though in later albums and even into some of his solo stuff, he would kind of stray away from that kind of clean sound. But yeah, no, Fresh Fruit, awesome album. One of just the quintessential punk rock albums, especially here in the US. Give it a listen. It's really rad. Get into their later stuff. All right, then from here, we're going to slow down a little bit. The first two albums I mentioned were a little bit on the faster, more hardcore side of punk. I want to explore just the more, kind of, not necessarily like slow side, but just the more grounded side with the Damned's Machine Gun Etiquette. The Damned is known for putting out one of the very first 7-inch singles. I think it was actually the very first 7-inch single in history. Don't quote me on that. And their debut album, Damn Damn Damned, is just another one of those just essential pieces of early punk music. But Machine Gun Etiquette is where you will see the Damned truly form into their own sound. Post Damn Damn Damned, the Damned would get a little bit faster, a little bit darker, and then by the time you hit Phantasmagoria, about 4 years later or so, they've taken more of kind of post-punk goth rock sound. There's still bits and pieces of that punk sound in there, but Machine Gun Etiquette is just that perfect blending of their punk stuff, the darker stuff, and just what made the Damned big to begin with, and that was very catchy beats, Dave Venion's really just unique vocal style, Rat Scabies, and Rat Scabies just banging those damn drum away, those drums away, and yeah, no, it's just the Damned is just an awesome band in general. I would really recommend that after you listen to Machine Gun Etiquette, listen to Damn Damn Damned, um, Strawberries, and Phantasmagoria. All three albums are really great. You get bits and pieces of just all three of the sounds on top of Machine Gun Etiquette. Yeah, I'll probably end up talking about those albums later because The Damned is one of my all-time favorite bands, easily in my top 10. They're coming in March. I'm really excited for that show. But let's move on. From here, we're going to speed right back up with the Misfits' Earth AD Wolf's Blood. I kind of wanted to put their debut, Walk Among Us, here, but this was the very first Misfits album I ever heard. This is one of the first hardcore albums I ever heard. The Misfits are a very interesting band in that they only put out 2 complete albums, but they had several EPs. They had a huge amount of singles. You can find collected works everywhere from the original Misfits lineup. That's Glenn Danzig on vocals. But with Wolf's Blood, their last full length, and just one of the last releases they ever put out in general. I think this was put out after they broke up. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that again. Earth AD is just 25 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's like 25 minutes of just really just good, catchy, clean but gritty hardcore. This album is just so different. At least when I was 12 years old. Sorry, no, I was actually 13 years old when I picked this up. Back when I was 13 years old, this is like again, this is the first hardcore album I ever listened to, and it just blew my mind that a band could play this fast, that a band could just write weird lyrics about monster movies but sound really badass while doing it. But yeah, no, I could go on and on about the Misfits. I'll talk about them more later, particularly when you get into the Michael Graves era, the late 90s, and the weird Jerry Only era that's going on right now. But yeah, no, let's just go ahead before I talk your ear off. From here, let's get into Title Fight and their debut album, Shed. Title Fight is one of my favorite bands pre Hyperview. I like Hyperview a lot. It's a weird album. We'll get into that later. But Shed is just a really cool piece of modern hardcore. You have some pop punk influences thrown in there for good measure, but it's just a very straightforward, just hardcore album. Um, and that for one reason or another, I just find that very refreshing. If only just because a lot of rock music, a lot of alternative music, kind of got a little bit more poppier, kind of got a little farther away from just the harder sound of punk rock. Pop punk especially got really weird when Paramore and Fall Out Boy got huge back in like 2007, and we couldn't even call it pop punk anymore after a while. Title Fight kind of just takes all of that, puts it back to the ground, stomps on it, and screams in your face for like a minute and a half. And especially with this with Shed, fantastic album, one of my all-time favorites. Really recommend you get into it, especially if you're not too into the kind of grittier, dirtier sounding stuff that like early Bad Religion, Misfits, Black Flag, Casualties put out back in the 80s. As far as hardcore goes, if you want to get a little more modern with it, but Title Fight is like one of those bands that I can listen to anytime, and I can easily recommend to the chick wearing a bunch of like Aeropostale gear, and then like her decked out brother wearing like tight black jeans and shit. Title Fight's rad. Check them out. Shed is an awesome album. And then last for this week is Pup's 2013 self-titled album, Pup. Pup is making a huge splash in the punk rock scene right now. They're this little band from Canada. They put on one of the best live shows you can catch right now. I would highly recommend you check out Pup. But what makes Pup so rad? Pup, again, they kind of do what Title Fight did with their first two albums, and bring punk back to more of a grounded sound. It's not the cleanest sounding album out there. It's not super tight, but that's kind of the charm of it. Pup is one of those bands you put on either when you're driving a cute girl in the car, or you and your bros just want to freaking just jump in a mosh pit, at some show while Pup's playing. Pup's really cool in that they go really fast, really hard on one song, and then they can go a lot more mellow, and it sounds really, really, really good. Some bands they try to like slow down, and it doesn't end up sounding too good. Going back to Title Fight and Hyperview, a lot of people will make the argument that Hyperview is not a good album. I personally really like that album, but it's not one I could recommend easily. Pup put out their second album last summer. The album's really good. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, no, just all six of these albums I listed, really good, really rad. Pop onto YouTube, find their full albums, go out to the FYE or whatever, buy them. I don't give a shit how you listen to these bands, these albums. Just do it. You will love yourself for doing it. I'll love you for doing it. And then just for good measure, go and donate to the Wasted Youth fundraising campaign if you can. I'm gonna put that link down in the description. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys later.